Okay, hi guys. So I got a lot of requests, or I guess complaints rather, that on my last video on this filter, I guess I wasn't showing people what I was doing, so I'm going to be doing the same assembly again. I did have to buy another filter anyway, so I figured I may as well just redo the video altogether. So today we're redoing the Terra filter FX-350 by Terra. It's a really good canister filter, does really well. So I'll go through all the parts that are in here, and then we'll go ahead and assemble it. So the first thing we have is this little pamphlet. This is just a really, not even an instructional thing. It just tells you what the parts are. It might have verbal instructions. Yeah, it's got verbal instructions, but it's not at all easy to read or anything like that. The letters are tiny. That's what they give you to put this together. And that's only as wide as my hand. So if you have trouble seeing at all, that's going to be really hard. So the first thing in here, I did already open this just to make sure I had all the parts. So these are your attachments. You have 2C pipes connectors, 2C pipe connectors, which are these right here. Do not try to do this filter without using these. If you don't use them and you just bend the plastic tubing, it will not work and it will burn up the filter. These you have to use. We have these two silicone connector pieces of tubing. They are flexible, but you don't really want to bend these very much because they don't need to bend. So we have those two. These are our hanging hooks that go on the side of the tank. You can just set this tank on a tabletop if you want, but I find they make a lot of noise and they kind of rattle a lot if you do that. So I always hang them. You can even take like a little, like a Velcro dot or something and stick it on the bottom side of the filter to keep it from bouncing off the side of the filter. And I'll show you what I mean by that. This is your outtake connection. So you'll have a tube that goes from this to this, and that'll be your outtake. And then this goes to your outtake as well. I tend to not use these because the turtle just knocks it off anyway. If you have a smaller turtle that's not very inquisitive or anything like that, you might be able to get away with using this. But it just goes on there like that, and you can turn it. So if you have this sitting and you know that you want the flow to go around this edge of the tank versus just straight up, you can turn it, and now the water will blow out this way towards me or that way, whichever. But you don't, like, again, you don't have to use this. There is another piece that you can use for the outtake as well, and I'll show you that here in a minute. This is for the intake. This is a little cage to go over the intake valve for the water, and this is just a debris catcher, and it does have this little hinge here that pops up, and what this is good for is popping it open, and if there's anything stuck in there, you can easily get it out that way. I do highly recommend using this because the more big stuff you can keep from going in your filter, the longer life it's going to have. If it gets stopped up, it can burn up very easily. We have this end cap. That's for another outtake piece if you decide to use it, and I'll show you where that goes here in a few minutes. And then I have what I have been told is a flow gauge where you can adjust the flow. I have no idea where this part goes. Hopefully we can figure it out today and I can tell you what it does, but I've never successfully figured out where this one piece goes. And then I have two sets of suction cups. These are to hold your tubing for your intake and outtake onto the glass of the tank so that your turtle has a little more trouble pushing them around and you don't dislodge your filter or anything like that. So there's 4 of these in total, and they work pretty good. The type of suction cup's also really good because they don't get stiff like some do in underwater, so that's good. This is the other outtake attachment you can use. It's a fountain. It's got little holes in it, and it'll help aerate the water. I don't use this just because I don't really like the way it looks, and I don't really see a need to use it. The turtle, she really just pushes it out of the way half the time anyway, so it's just her toy. But that cap piece I was talking about, it just pops on the end like that, so that the water just doesn't come straight out one end, and then you can slide it here in your outtake tube. Just like that. And you can turn it so that it goes straight up and then it trickles down, or you can turn it upside down and make it like a rain system if you wanted to. But yeah, so that's that. I will not be using this piece. You don't have to use it, so don't think you have to. Here is our 2 silicone tubing. These are pretty long. You could use this filter on a pretty big tank, but these are made so that you can cut them to what length you want. I always end up using just one of them. I never need to cut the other one, so you have that option if you want to. If one of your tubes cracks eventually and has a split in it or something, or gets chewed up or something like that, then you have an extra. And then we have this piece, which is just a short plastic tube. This is a hard plastic. This one, it doesn't bend at all. And what this is for is you slide your intake cage on it like so, and you can have a solid pipe for your intake versus the bendy pipe. You do still need to use the bendy pipe with this, just a short length of it, but it does seem to work a lot better if you use this pipe as well as the silicone tubing. And then of course we have our canister, which is here. This is the bracket to hold onto the side of the tank. Let me see, where's the front? They usually say in and out. Yeah, okay. So this is your intake, this is your outtake. Intake is right next to this valve. So I'm going to be putting mine this way. So then you take these, they just have these little bracket slides. I guess gravity hooks. I'm not sure what they're called. And you can slide them on and clip them on, and they hold on. I do have a little like trash tank down here that I'm going to be using for a demo. We just keep crickets in it when we have them, but it just slides on the side here. Let me grab this box and I'll prop it up so you guys can see it better. Try not to lose your pieces. So I just have this tank I'm going to slide it up onto. Okay, so that's that. My tubing, my scissors, all that stuff back over here. Okay, so now that you have your side thing hooked on, you can just slide this off. You don't need to have it on while you assemble your intake outtake stuff. I'm going to push that to the side for now. Well, here. I want to make sure you guys can see good. We'll do that. And again, that's not the turtle's tank. That's just a spare that we use for storing crickets when we have to get a bunch of them in advance. Okay, so there's this. Again, intake, outtake. So what you're going to do is if you look here, there's these little nuts on here. And those go around your tubing and tighten around them to give it a really good seal. Do not just shove these on here and hope for the best. It will go horribly. You do have to kind of persuade it to go over, but I promise they do fit. You want it as tight as possible without breaking anything. Okay. So you see how tight I have that on there? And then this nut you just turn and it starts to go up, and it'll make a tighter seal around that tubing. These are a little difficult to actually twist because there's such a small space to actually get a grip on the nut, but it is doable. Maybe if you have tiny hands. I wouldn't use pliers or anything like that because these are just plastic nuts and you don't want to break them or splinter them. Our other one for the intake, same situation. You just slide it over. Like that. Give it a good firm shove on there, and then you can twist your nut to go up and touch at least that silicone tubing. Okay, so there's that. Mine is going this way. Rule of thumb, for me anyways, I always have this cord go around the back of the tank. You can have it go wherever. Whichever way your cord is going, that's the way you want your pipes to go. So these C pipes right here, they're the same thing. They have these nuts on them as well as the kind of wedge-shaped nozzle to go in to your pipe. You do have to force it again. Once it's in, then you can turn it. Then you can turn it to which direction you need it to go. Again, like I always say, I have it facing whichever way my cord's going to go. So I have it facing this way because my cord's going to go this way. Again, with the nut, you're going to slide it down. I apologize if there's really loud booming or anything like that. It is actually storming right now. But there's one side. Once you know how to do this, you can pretty much put it together in 15-20 minutes and not have to worry about it. So again, here's my tube. You're going to slide your bracket into it. Don't be afraid to be forceful, but don't be too forceful that you crack or break it. Again, with the nut. And it's trying to go over it. Alright, so there's those. Okay, now I'm going to pop this top off and see if I can't figure out where our little flow valve key goes. I think I have an idea, but I'm not 100% sure. So let's see what we have here. I'm talking about this little piece. Someone had told me that that's what it is, but I am not seeing anywhere to use it. I'm going to look through this little pamphlet real quick and see if I can't find anything. If I can't, then we're not going to worry about it. It's literally 3 pages of instructions in English. I don't know how they expect you to put that together. I'm not seeing anything. I'm going to look one more time. If I can't find anything, then we're not going to worry about it. Unless it's... No, that's not right. I popped this little tube off. If you just see this floating around in your thing, one end goes here, one end goes down this square hole here. I'm not sure where this bit goes. We're not gonna worry about it. Okay. So when you put this back in, this is what the inside of your filter looks like. This rod here and the filter bit, the pump, has to go on the side with the lower filtration medium. If you put it on the other side and try to force it in, you're going to break it. So there's that. Back to our tubing. I'm just going to put the tubes on for now. The tank's actually in the other room, but there's people in there watching TV, so I'm not going to bother them. I'm pretty certain that if I cut it here, my water level right now is a lot lower than it has been in the past, because the basking platform I had for my turtle had to be torn down, and we're going to have to build her something else for it. And I'll do a video on that too, probably. I think I'm going to use some PVC to build a platform to put her rock on top of, but we will see. So I'm going with about 2 feet, 2.5 feet of this silicone tubing. This is my outtake, which can be shorter. You don't have to have it in the water for the outtake. Some turtles like to play in the bubbles on that. So again, I have my nozzle here with my nut. Put that back. And so you're just going to squeeze it on over the lip. Maybe. Alright, come on. There we go. Alright. It's a little hard sometimes to actually get it on there, but there we go. We're going to take our nut and put it flush to the tubing. Sometimes it'll pinch the tubing, which is fine. You want it as tight as possible. Just not so tight that you break that nut. And then I'm just going to use this for the outtake because we have, oh wait, did I do that backwards? I think I did that backwards. Yeah, okay. So this, no? Yeah, this is the, we're going to put it on the other side. This is our intake on this side. We have this as well as our tubing to go on the intake, so I'm going to do a shorter tube here, longer tube here. I'm going to go ahead and connect my flexible tube to my non-flexible tube. And it's just the same way. It should just slide over your non-flexible tube. Almost. Alright. And on this, you know it's not going to leak or anything because it's so freaking tight on there. You don't got to worry about it. So with the plastic on the bendable tube, this is our non-bendable, this is our bendable. Here's our outtake cage, or intake cage, sorry, to catch any debris so it doesn't clog easy. Alright. So back again with getting this thing on there. I remember the first time I built one of these and we looked on YouTube for a how-to, there wasn't a good one. And that's why I made the last video I did on this filter. But if y'all are having, or I'm having issues showing you how to do it properly, I want to fix that because I know I wish I had it when I needed it. So there's that again. Make sure all your nuts stay tight. So that's what the intake looks like that. And then here's my other tubing. Here's my tube. This is the one I've already cut. That's what I'm going to use for my outtake. Oh, before I do that, we do have this piece that is for the outtake. You don't have to put this on. You could just do the tubing. I like having this on. Just looks nicer to me. But you don't have to put this bit on. It's not essential to the function of the filter, so all it does is direct the water in which direction you want it to flow. So there's that. We're going to take our nut and go up the threads. And that's pretty dang tight. I'm using this bit. You can use, where did it go? This bit if you wanted to. However, I'm not going to be using it. I like using this and pointing it up to the surface of the water because the more agitation you have on it, the less likely you are to end up with calcium buildup. Same thing, I'm putting it on the C-shaped bracket, or U-shape, whatever you want to call it. Taking our nut, twisting it down to meet the rubber of the tube. Alright. And there is your filter. Now, when you go to set this up, do not turn it on without taking this knob off right here. See if I can get it. Sometimes they're stuck pretty tight. There we go. This comes off. Do not lose this. If you lose this, your filter is useless. There is a rubber gasket around the edge here that creates the vacuum seal needed for the pump to work properly. If you don't have this, the pump's just going to run and it's not going to actually suck up water. You got your hole there. And what you're going to do is you're going to take water and fill this entire canister up until you see the water or you see it come out of the hole here. If you don't do that first, your filter's just going to run and run and run, and it's going to burn up. Once you have it filled, you take your thing. There's a certain way it fits in. There's a notch on this side and a notch on this side. This bit here down the middle slides in between those notches. Once it's in between, like that, you turn it to be the other direction. And then you're done. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, just let me know. Hopefully this was a lot more helpful. Eventually I'll be doing a video on the turtle tank that this goes on. But yeah, y'all have a good night.